Live.
Way.
Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the first of hopefully what will be a fair few interviews leading up to the event on February 11th, the Sacer event's first ever rival battles between Focus and Labris facing off in Silver Story as the main event. But we've got a lot of cool matches on the undercard too. We've got this one in particular, which is going to be the first interview that we're going to be having between Hedera and Deevoo facing off in Dark Story. Hello, both of you. Hedera, how are you?
I'm good. Hello.
You doing good?
Feeling good.
Feeling good. How about you, Deevoo? How are you feeling?
I'm great. I'm great.
Yeah, chilling? Alright.
Nothing to complain about.
Nothing to complain about whatsoever. But we got a nice matchup going up here. Both of you very evenly matched. Both of you rocking the Hedera art on your cameras, as you can see. And yeah, so we are just going to get straight into it then, really, because obviously this matchup has happened once before. In the New Game Plus Dark Story tournament was the only previous event I think you guys have faced off in.
That's true.
I'll start with Deevoo. Let's just talk really about the category that we're going to be facing off with to start off in. Obviously, Dark Story has been your category from the start. Generally, what about Dark Story sort of drove you towards it, really, and what sort of kept you playing and keeps you playing even now?
So what's really funny is I started playing Dark Story because the hero story skips were daunting, and then I became a skip specialist later
Yeah.
on. So it's pretty funny how that worked out.
So,
But I also am a big fan of Shadow.
of course. And obviously, still continue pretty on. I think you're probably, what are we, 3 years into the Deevoo arc right now? You've been playing Dark? Something like that?
Yeah, I'm 2 years under my belt. I'm in the third year now. So yeah.
And it's a similar sort of story for you, Hedera, really. You didn't start too late after Deevoo, I don't think, was it?
Yeah.
So,
It was
yeah.
probably like a month or two after he started.
And you obviously had some hero experience before that, though. But
yeah,
you've
I wanted to learn all stories. I thought that would be real cool. And then I realized that one of the stories really sucks. So now I only play one of them.
yeah, you've definitely made it clear that Dark Story is your avenue. In terms of sort of where you guys are both at right now on the board, obviously Hedera, you're a little bit higher up, but not by much. But in terms of, for both of you, again, I'll start with Deevoo here asking, where are your current sort of aspirations with Dark Story? Because I know you both are still pushing, you both still, I wouldn't say either of you have reached your peak yet. So in terms of immediate goals and maybe long-term goals as well, Deevoo, where are you at with Dark Story?
My immediate goal is a 22 dark, and my long-term goal is world record. So
So you got lofty aspirations there for sure. And then Hedera, you?
yeah.
My immediate goal is to get literally any PB. Please, game, please, please. And I guess getting a 22 would be cool.
Okay, alright. So, when it comes to Dark Story, obviously you've both got lofty heights that you're trying to hit and have hit already. But obviously you mentioned there as well, you both have kind of done it alongside each other somewhat. You're obviously very familiar with each other, obviously good friends. And generally speaking... Boil the blood, sell the fight. Generally speaking, you know, you've had, like, a decent rivalry, a decent sort of joint run alongside each other in Dark Story since you both kind of started going. In terms of, for you, Deevoo, when it comes to sort of rivalry and friendship with Hedera going up against her, what sort of atmosphere do you feel? What sort of general vibe do you enjoy about competing against Hedera, about going up against her, whether it's in a one-off match or just generally grinding against her for different PBs and different times on the boards and whatnot?
What I find really awesome about my rivalry with Hedera is our playstyles are so drastically different. So, like, we're both playing Dark NG, which you think the speedrun would look pretty much the same. But, like, I really focus on my, like, execution stages, like the mech and speed stages. And Hedera really focuses on the hunting stages. So like we'll get very similar times, but our runs will look totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Hedera, the same question to you then. So, in terms of competing against Deevoo, what's sort of been the challenges? What's sort of been the enjoyable things and the maybe not so enjoyable things? What kind of things are difficult about competing against Deevoo?
I think it's really funny when our PBs are like within a second of each other. That's always been really fun. We're just like so similar in skill level, but the way that we play the game and what we focus on is like pretty different, like he said.
Absolutely.
And I think that's cool and shows just how cool the game is.
Exactly, yeah. You can play the same type of level in very different ways, even at the highest level. And speaking of the highest level, obviously we spoke about it a little bit earlier with your matchup in the Dark Story New Game Plus tournament. Deevoo, obviously, you came out on top in that one, which is kind of the sort of thing that you've got over Hedera at the moment, right? Because I know she's ahead of you in NG. Is she ahead of you in NG Plus currently as well?
By like half a second, yeah.
There we go.
By 0.3.
So she's got the board leads over you, but you've obviously got that victory there in that race, and obviously going up against her again here. Is there that little bit of sort of race experience that goes your way? Maybe is that sort of something that you've got? There's no real nerves or fear, or what do you feel going into a one-off race like this?
I don't think so. I think Hedera's still very daunting of an opponent to go against, even though I've beaten her in a race before. That race could have gone either way if she had gotten a better mad space than she got. So, like that race pretty much came down to mad space, and I really lucked out with her set. So,
So yeah,
so
look,
I'm
not
definitely
underestimating.
not gonna take a win. Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna take the win under my belt and be like I'm better than Hedera. You know.
Yeah, so no underestimation there. And Hedera, kind of the same thing to you as well. But obviously, I was saying about race experience. You've probably got more race experience than most Dark runners, not just in tournaments, but obviously we know you take part in a lot of offline races and stuff as well.
It's true.
Obviously,
I race
everybody knows.
Deevoo all the time.
Yeah.
So we do race each other pretty frequently outside of competitive tournaments.
Not exactly unfamiliar, but going into this, is there a little bit of edge? Do you want that competitive win over Deevoo? You know, to have it marked under
I
your
think
belt?
it'd be cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, it can go either way. So like I'm not gonna take it lightly, you know.
No, for sure. Not going to underestimate either. So that's good to see neither of you underestimating the other. Not that I thought you would, but there you go. But if I was to say, obviously, I think Deevoo, you mentioned it a little bit earlier about the differences in the playstyles. Probably the main thing would be, I'll ask Hedera first now. What would be your biggest strength over Deevoo going into this race? So what do you think is going to give you the edge?
So generally, I think that my playstyle has lower highs, but my lows are also much higher than his because I'm just like generally more consistent. But he can like just like make a top time out of nowhere on like X number of splits. And like his execution is just miles better than me in that aspect. But I can also do the hunting pretty good. I know where the pieces are.
That's true. Sometimes I don't.
And so there you go. Knowing where the pieces are will get you pretty far, from what I've heard.
It's true. Learn your pieces, kids. It's
well, there we go.
Balanced breakfast.
So you think that consistency and you think that hunting edge is gonna be what sort of puts you maybe at the advantage. But then Deevoo, what do you think about that in terms of consistency? Would you agree with that? Would you say maybe Hedera has the edge there? Or would you say what strengths you've got that are going to probably like weigh things more in your favor? What would you say?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that for me, like my high, like she said, my highs are high, but my lows are low. Like so, like my highs are I get a 135 radical highway. My lows are I miss mock bounce and lose 20 seconds. So it's like, so it can go either way. Which like we saw in the Dark Story NG Plus tournament, like both times I played Deku, I missed mock bounce and lost 20 seconds, and it was pretty like upsetting to the race. But for me, like playing against Hedera, I do this even in our like fun races that we do all the time. I pretty much try to make sure I'm ahead of her into mad space. I have to be. There's like it's a sort of like feeling I have through the whole race is I have to be ahead of her entering mad space or I'm in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that last sort of stretch of Dark Story is definitely a crucible, that you don't really want to be falling behind in, especially at that mad space split.
And speaking of consistency, her fling's also much better than mine. So like the end game, she has a much better end game than me. It's much more consistent. So like I really have to pull ahead of her in the early mid game.
So what do you think in terms of, obviously you've mentioned a few things there that Hedera is perhaps a little bit better than yourself at, but what do you think you've got her beat in? What do you think is going to be the places which swing in Deevoo's favour?
Radical Highway, I would think.
I couldn't have guessed.
Maybe.
Who could have seen this coming?
I mean, in a perfect world, I could save 10 seconds on Hedera in Radical Highway. That would be if she performs a little subpar, gets a 145, and I get a 135. And then mostly it's going to be the speed stages minus Skyrail. She could pretty much keep up with me in Skyrail unless I'm doing dumb IL stuff. But in White Jungle, I can get sub 130s like in runs pretty consistently, and I don't think she does that.
Yeah, I think your speed stages have kind of been the thing. Also, not just in Dark Story, but also ILs as well. The speed stages for you, Deevoo, have always been something which have kind of been a strength for sure. Speaking about those IL strats, though, and whatnot, you're coming into this sort of as a one single match. It's a bit different, obviously, I can imagine, than a tournament where you're perhaps maybe getting in the groove, taking it pace by pace, game by game, and kind of steadily maybe improving or maybe feeling a bit burnt out as the games keep coming. Deevoo, what would you say the difference for you would be going into a one-off match like this versus preparing for a lot of matches to come in something like a tournament?
I've been thinking about this myself because I've been trying to decide if I'm going to do more IL strats in this race because I'm kind of like, well, it's one race. I might as well just do it and maybe get this lead on her right off the bat. But obviously those come with consequences. Like I said with mock bounce, you do mock bounce, you gain 2 seconds. You lose mock bounce, you lose 20. So it's like, so there's some of these IL strats have some pretty hefty consequences.
Yeah, for sure. So, same question for you then, Hedera. Difference being, obviously, you've done a couple of exhibitions in the past before. I know you've got experience there. So, a one-off race, which is kind of, all that's really on the line here, I guess, is kind of, it's a grudge match. It's personal pride and whatnot. But what is sort of the difference between this and setting yourself up for a tournament?
I don't know. I pretty much just treat it like any other race. Like I do a little bit of practice, just to get warmed up, and I'm like, okay, time to do a speed run, and then I do the speed run.
How much practice would you sort of say goes into, like, the day of a race? How much are you practicing before the race starts itself?
Usually before like any of the like tournament match days, I would like do a no reset run first. See and then like whatever was like falling behind or was making a lot of mistakes on, I'll like look into that real quick. Just patch it up ever so slightly and then go back into the race. It was the same thing with the exhibitions I did too. Where it's just like do a no reset, figure out what's going wrong, fix that, and do the race.
Okay, so it's a pretty similar approach for yourself then. So that's pretty interesting. And then, yeah, basically, in terms of sort of this whole event sequence that we've got setting up right here, obviously Rival Battles, new thing that we're having on CESA. And the thing, obviously, this match is not a title bout, but that's something that we're looking to bring in. I know Drumbasher has been talking about wanting to take a shot at a Dark Story title bout against somebody, looking for an opponent right now. Obviously, in terms of board placement and in terms of tournament placement as well, given past events, Hedera is the priority challenger at the current moment, so you would get first shot. In terms of a shot at Drum Basher, maybe a Dark Story title bout. I know I needed to explain this one to you a little bit the other day, getting a little confused as to how this all works, but
I was very confused.
are we sort of on the page now? Have we figured it out? Do we kind of get...
I think I mostly have it now.
Is that something you'd be interested in? A shot at drum, if the opportunity came to take on a chance like that. You've obviously played each other before. Didn't go your way that time, but something that you'd be interested in?
I am better at the game now, so maybe I actually have a chance this time.
Yeah. So, we may see it. We may see Drum versus Hedera for the bout. But, Deevoo, to ask the same question, obviously, this match between the two of you, if you take the win in this, and given the fact that you've already taken a win over Hedera previously, do you kind of maybe look at that and sort of think, well, maybe I should be the one, getting a shot at that. Maybe I should be the one taking a chance at that title bout against Drum, Deevoo versus Drum. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I really would like another chance to go against Drum. I think that would be awesome. The first time me and Drum played each other, I was a 24 runner and definitely not as consistent as I am now, which is saying a lot because I'm not that consistent now. But but it was a blowout, and I really would like to get another chance at that.
For sure, absolutely. Then, so close eye on this one. I'm sure will Drum Bash be having, seeing which one of you maybe will be that opponent. We'll wait and see. But yeah, then besides that, I would probably have to just sort of say, what are your final sort of feelings going in towards the race, and what are your general sort of messages towards each other going in? Start with Hedera.
I hate Deevoo. I'm gonna kill him.
Let's fucking go.
And Deevoo?
Fuck you, Deevoo.
What do you think going into this race? Any last words for Hedera?
Well, I'm in my fuck Hedera arc currently because I still haven't bopped her in anything since I entered it, which I entered it like a couple months ago. So it's actually been a very long arc in my speedrunning career. So hopefully, maybe if I beat Hedera in this, I can exit my fuck Hedera arc.
It'll be the good ending.
Fun again. The spiteful speedrunning can finally stop.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe it'll never end.
Cease this fight.
It's true. I go from hating Zephyr to hating Hedera to hating Seahawks. It's pretty much just like how it is.
It's a never-ending cycle.
That's what it's like to play Dark Story. You're just spiteful all the time.
We're spiteful and evil.
Absolutely. Very evil. Very, very evil. But there we go. So the two of you will be facing off on February 11th. You'll be opening up the event, which will be a cool thing to see. I know a lot of Dark Story runners been starved for content lately, so we'll be happy to see that one. And yeah, so good luck to both of you. Before we sign off then, I'd probably just say, in terms of the event itself, is there anything else that's sort of catching your eye? Have you seen any matches on the card that you're particularly looking forward to? Or just sort of generally thinking good or negative things about the whole thing? What do you reckon, Hedera?
I don't know. I'm not like especially familiar with a lot of the other speed games, but I'm a big Labrys fan. I think he's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, we got a prediction there. We got maybe rooting for Labrys. Okay, cool. So we'll see that. And same question to you, Deevoo. Anything on the card that stands out to you, and any of your mans that you're backing? Any of that?
So obviously, I'm excited for Flub vs. Iden because that's SA2 as well, and that race was very cool to watch in HST. So I'm excited to get like a sequel to that. And then obviously Focus vs. Labrys. That's kind of like. Was that our first 06 race on this channel, or
something like that? I think you might be right.
Oh, my capping, I mean, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome that we're gonna have some 06 content.
Silver
for the title belt as well.
Win.
Maybe. But yeah, there you go. And probably last thing to ask then would be: is there any matchup that either of you would like to see for yourselves, or for anybody else in particular on any of these events? Any sort of dream matchups? If you could pick one set of players to go up against each other in a category, what you're choosing? Deevoo?
I think like I really just like watching Dark Story. I'm like very boring in that regard.
Mm.
A lot of the dark I watch. So if I could get like Drum versus Lexi or Drum versus Katie, just like really high level dark races, or what I would love to watch. Like Drum versus Savick, like just or like Savick versus Lexi, just any of these higher level dark runners would be awesome to watch.
For sure. Absolutely. So that would always be good to see. And, maybe as the year goes on, we might get some cool Dark Story stuff, but who knows? We'll keep that hush. But Hedera, same question to you before we sign off. What is your dream match? What are you wanting to see? Any category, any runner.
I think one that would be really funny would be Seahawks versus Deku, the Battle of the RNG.
Ah, I see. In Dark Story?
Yeah.
Okay. Seahawks Deku, that could be good.
Pretty interesting.
Whoever gets the best combined rouge at the end of the Dark Story run wins.
Exactly.
Forget everything else.
That's a cool format. I'm down for this. Can
we
do this for our race?
Combined rouge record? Or combined rouge
yeah, that
is all that matters.
Definitely not go in one direction specifically.
You can never tell. Well, maybe you can. Depends just who's playing. But there you go. On that note then, thanks guys for hopping on in. It's been a pleasure as always. And we will see you guys back here on February the 11th for your matchup. It's going to be a good one. And just let you guys sign off if you want. Anything you want to say before you go? Deevoo?
Yeah, let's go. Fuck Hedera.
And Hedera? Alright then. See you all back here very soon. Look forward to the rest of the matches on the card. Look forward to everything coming your way. It's going to be a good one. Don't miss it. February 11th. Goodbye.